Let's bring in Georgia Governor Brian Kemp. Governor, thank you so much, and thanks for having us to your wonderful state, a big battleground state, of course, this time around again. You made some news last night by admitted that you did not vote for Donald Trump in the Republican primary. You said you showed up to vote, but you just didn't vote at all. Why not vote for anybody?
Well, I mean, look, everybody else was out of the race. Trump was the presumptive nominee, so, I mean, it really didn't matter. But, you know, I'm not focused on the past. I've said for a long time I was going to support whoever our nominee was. We had a lot of great Republicans running. You know, they battled it out. Donald Trump's at the top of our ticket. And that's what I'm focused on, is making sure that our whole Republican ticket here in Georgia carries the day. As you know, we've had, you know, some interesting campaigns in our state over the last 2 or 3 cycles, and I want to make sure that we do like we did in 2022 in my reelection campaign, and we win in Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, you were reelected handily in this battleground state. Has the Trump campaign or anyone from his campaign or Trump himself reached out to you to make amends and ask for your help?
Well, no, I haven't talked to him about that, but I also don't need a phone call. You know, I've said that a lot. I'm a team player. You know, I've really said a lot of times that I think the former president needs to be forward-thinking, focused on the future, telling people, you know, why people should vote for us. That's what I did in my reelection campaign. But, you know, I'm doing the same thing. I'm being forward-thinking. I'm not worried about the past. I'm not worried about, you know, the primary. I'm focused on knowing that the American people and people in Georgia cannot afford another 4 years of Joe Biden.
In that primary, Nikki Haley got a sizable chunk of support from voters, especially in the suburbs. What should the Trump campaign take away from that?
Well, I mean, look, the same thing happened with President Biden. You know, you had a lot of states around the country where, you know, he wasn't bringing all of his voters home either. And that's what happens in primaries, so I don't worry too much about that. But I think tonight is a great opportunity for former President Trump to tell people, you know, you cannot afford another 4 years of Joe Biden. They know that. They know that every day when they go to the grocery store. They know that every day when they're going to the gas pump. They're seeing the disaster at the border and wondering how many terrorists are coming across, how many, you know, cartel members are, you know, bringing human trafficking, drug trafficking, fentanyl. They've seen the disastrous pullout of Afghanistan. They're having trouble paying their rent. I mean, there's a lot of ways that Donald Trump can post up against Joe Biden's record. I think, you know, he's going to have to stay very focused, because Biden's not going to want to talk about those things. You know, they're going to want to distract from his record because it's so bad.
In the coming days, at least before the Republican National Convention, Trump is expected to announce his vice presidential pick. Who do you think, among the top contenders, do you think would make a good choice to reach out to the types of voters you're talking about?
Well, I've been telling a lot of people, of all the people that I think and here that are being considered, I think they would all do an unbelievable job posting up against the Biden-Harris administration in a debate with the vice president. I mean, they're very accomplished people. And I think he'll make a good pick. And so, really, I think any of them would be a great, you know, great coalition to go to the American people and really continue to contrast the two records.
As it stands now, do you think that Trump will win Georgia?
If we were voting today, I believe he would. And I think if he stays focused tonight, telling people, you know, what he's for, and contrast the record with Joe Biden and remind people that they can't afford another 4 years of the Biden administration, I think he'll win in November as well. But we cannot take that for granted. Like Georgia, we have had our shares of ups and downs, so like nobody needs to get complacent. We cannot get distracted. We got to work hard on the ground game. We got to get people to go vote early, take them off the field so it reduces the size of people we're going after, and work really hard. And you know, that's what I'm going to be doing to hold our majorities in the legislature, and then also that goes and helps the top of the ticket.
And just to remind our audience, you know, the former president was very critical of you because you certified the election results here in the state of Georgia. Does the idea that now you are supporting him, you're supporting the ticket, does that signal that you think Republicans are coming home?
Well, listen, I followed the law and the Constitution. That's what I'm going to continue to do, and I know that upset him in some ways, but that's part of politics, and I'm looking forward, and I feel like he is too. But I do think people are starting to come home. I mean, not everybody's happy. There's no doubt that there's people that don't like either one of these folks, but that's why I think there's an opportunity based on the records of when Donald Trump was in office versus what people are dealing with when Joe Biden's been in office with 40-year high inflation and the disaster at the border, people at the end of the day got to decide, am I not going to vote at all? And if I decide to vote, who am I going to vote for? I think people are going to vote for somebody that's going to, help their pocketbook, help keep their family safe, and help secure a border and do all these other things that Joe Biden has not.
And you said that you're going to help to get those voters out here in Georgia.
We're working on that as we speak.
All right, Governor, we will stay tuned. Thank you again for having us in your state. We appreciate it. Thanks for being here.
Honor.